Hello and welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Colin, and today I'm watching First Crusade, Part 1 of 2. And this is, of course, from Epic History TV. And, yeah. It's been a minute since I've reviewed, I guess, anything regarding the First Crusade or any of the Crusades. I know they were long religious wars over the Holy Land, and that's pretty much it from my memory. I haven't even gone so far as to watch what was it? Oh God, who was in it? Trying to think of the movie about the Crusades with Orlando Bloom. That's it, the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, I haven't even seen that, and I don't even think I've seen that since that movie came out. Actually, that I think about it. I don't know. Maybe this will give me some inspiration to review it again. But yeah, with that being said, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, will you? And I'll bring up the share screen here, and we'll get into it, shall we?
In the Middle Ages, Europe and the Middle East were divided between Christian states, or Christendom, and Muslim states. They were uneasy neighbours and frequently at war. On the front line, the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire, the major Christian power in the Eastern Mediterranean.
Is that showing Greece as being more Muslim controlled? Because if so, I didn't know that about Greece. Yeah.
But in the 11th century, a powerful new force emerged that threatened its very survival. The Seljuk Turks, originally from Central Asia, migrated south, converted to Sunni Islam, and carved out a great empire for themselves. In 1071, at the Battle of Manzikert, the Seljuk Turks inflicted a crushing defeat on the Byzantine Empire. They went on to conquer most of Anatolia. Cities such as Nicaea and Antioch, rich in Christian history, fell to the Seljuk Turks. In 1092, the great Seljuk Sultan Malik Shah died, and his empire began to fragment. The Byzantine Empire came under renewed attack as local warlords sought territory and plunder. In 1095, Byzantine Emperor Alexius I Comnenus wrote to Pope Urban II, making a desperate appeal for military aid from his fellow Christians in the West. It wasn't the first such appeal by the emperor, but this time the results would be unlike anything ever seen before.
Deus vote.
Pope Urban saw the emperor's appeal as a golden opportunity, a chance to heal the rift that had emerged between Western and Eastern churches in the Great Schism. To assert his own papal authority over the unruly barons and bishops of Western Christendom, and to drive back the infidel and reclaim Christianity's most holy sites, most of all Jerusalem, lost to Muslim rule 400 years before. At Clermont in France, Pope Urban preached a sermon to a gathering of clergy and nobles. He called on Christian knights and foot soldiers to go east, to aid their brother Christians and free Jerusalem from Muslim rule. And he offered a unique spiritual incentive. Whoever, for devotion alone, not to gain honor or money, goes to Jerusalem to liberate the Church of God, can substitute this journey for all penance. He was offering
So it's like a really expensive, what do you call it? Shoot, where you pay basically to get into heaven. Forget what that's called. I don't want to dwell on it too much, so I'm gonna keep going. But yeah, that's basically if I'm understanding that correctly, it's sounding like he's offering this journey, this quest, if you will, in place of actual paying to get into heaven. What is it called? Uh, yeah, I don't. I don't want to sit on that for too long, so let's keep going.
Europe's knights, who lived in fear of damnation because of the violent lives they led, the chance to atone for their sins through holy war. What's more, their objective, Jerusalem, was a city that captivated the medieval imagination like no other.
And did he say these men who led violent lives, and it's because of the violent lives that they lead, they did this to gain salvation? Huh. I that's just it. I don't want us to like get into a moral philosophical kind of, I don't know, tangent here, but it does seem, I don't know. I don't know why I still allow myself to be surprised by people's ability to, not ability, but people's tendency to fall into cognitive dissonance, with that sort of thing. You're a spiritual, religious person, believes in God and heaven and hell, and that the way that you live your life violently is not in accordance with supposedly what God wants or how you get into heaven. But if you do it in the name of God in Christianity, the violence and whatnot, then yeah, that's good. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's harder to like bring these up, like these thoughts or questions that I have without other people here because I'm just kind of talking out loud and I have no answers. Like these are just things that I find curious. Um, I don't know, and want someone to bounce those off with. It's difficult to do that by yourself, I guess. So with that being said, let's keep going, shall we?
The most holy place on earth. The Pope's offer exhilarated his audience. His words were met with cries of Deus vult, Deus vult. God wills it. God wills it. The Pope's appeal was preached across Europe, sparking a wave of religious fervour. Thousands of lords, knights, and ordinary people vowed to travel to the Holy Land and fight for Christ. They identified themselves by wearing a cross, later becoming known as Cruce Signatus, Crusaders. A few of these men
like
saw
the Swiss flag now too. That just a white flag with a red cross, or Swiss, right? Yeah, a second. Just gonna look up the Swiss flag really quick because I feel like that's pretty close. If not, hang on a second. Swiss flag. Yeah, pretty much. And this is like the, if I can pull it up here. One second, I'll show you. Anyway, what you guys? Yeah, now it's going away. Jesus. There we go. There. Yeah, I see. Anyhow, for some reason I thought it was the reverse. I thought it was a white flag with a red cross, not a red flag with a white cross. But anyhow, so yes, I wonder if Switzerland's flag is like a remnant of the Crusade flag by chance, maybe. I don't know if that would, like, if that makes sense to me or would be surprising. Just I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about history to really say, I guess, but I digress. Let's keep going.
Opportunity in the East for fame and fortune. But overwhelmingly, they went in search of spiritual salvation, willing to undertake a long, expensive and perilous journey to save their souls from the fires of hell. Pope Urban had intended the crusade to be led by nobles and made up of knights and experienced soldiers. But the viral success of his appeal led thousands of ordinary townsfolk and peasants to take the cross, many inspired by a French priest known as Peter the Hermit, who became leader of this so-called People's Crusade. In the Rhineland, some of these crusaders, fired up by old prejudices and talk of holy war, attacked local Jewish communities, slaughtering around 5,000 men, women and children, and extorting money from those they spared. These massacres were condemned by the church, but to little effect.
Yeah, I'd like to see the wording in the church's condemnation of these acts and how that condemnation was distributed. I guess I don't know. Yeah, an unfortunate aspect of history there with how people treated the Jewish populations around Europe. Everywhere, pretty much all throughout history. Yeah, very sad.
In the summer of 1096, the People's Crusade, 20 to 40,000 strong, made its way east. The main contingent, led by Peter the Hermit, travelled along the river Danube. But they were ill-disciplined and poorly prepared. When they ran out of food in Hungary, they attacked and looted Christian settlements. They continued to pillage the land of their supposed ally, the Byzantine Empire. When they reached Constantinople, the emperor quickly ferried them to Anatolia to be rid of them. In enemy territory, lacking discipline or leadership, their main force was soon ambushed and slaughtered by the Turks. Meanwhile, some of Europe's most powerful feudal lords.
What's going on with the guy on the left there? Like, is the back of his head shaved? Is that what I'm seeing there? If so, like, I've never seen that in medieval paintings around this period of that particular hairstyle. I know they do, like, the monks and stuff to the top of the head and the side, and so they have like the halo of hair. But I wonder if that's like from an injury, you know, like some kind of post-crude brain surgery or skull surgery, like shaved head thing. I don't know, maybe I'm just reading too much into that.
Lords were departing for the Holy Land at the head of their own contingents. They were much better armed and organized than the disastrous People's Crusade. They included, from Lorraine, Godfrey of Bouillon, with his brothers Eustace and Baldwin of Boulogne. Hugh of Vermandois, younger brother of the French king. Count Robert of Flanders, and Duke Robert of Normandy, son of William the Conqueror. The wealthy Stephen of Blois. From Provence, Count Raymond of Toulouse, accompanied by the Crusade's spiritual leader, papal legate Adhemar of Le Puy. And from southern Italy, Norman lords Bohemond of Taranto and his nephew Tancred. The various contingents converged for their agreed rendezvous at Constantinople. Together, they formed a huge army, perhaps 60,000 strong, probably the largest seen in Europe since the fall of the Western Roman Empire. The Byzantine Emperor Alexius had expected to welcome a small force of Western mercenaries who'd serve under Byzantine command. But the giant Crusader force that began arriving in December 1096 made him nervous and distrustful, particularly the presence of Bohemond of Taranto, who'd spent much of his life attacking the Byzantine Empire. Alexius gave the Crusaders money, supplies, and guides, but only after their leaders swore oaths of fealty and promised to return all Byzantine territory to the emperor, not keep it for themselves. Only then were they ferried across the Bosphorus into Anatolia. The Crusaders were a mighty military force, particularly the armoured knights, who made up about a sixth of their strength. But they'd have to adapt rapidly to the heat, terrain, and hit-and-run tactics of their Turkish enemy. In their favour, the Islamic world and the great Seljuk Empire itself was badly divided. Its Turkish governors, or atabegs, were busy fighting each other, as well as the Shia Fatimids of Egypt. None of them was prepared for the First Crusade, or had any real understanding of its strength or aims. The Crusaders' first success came at Nicaea, which fell after a 6-week siege. But the city surrendered to the Byzantine forces, cheating the Crusaders, as they saw it, of their rightful plunder. It was a further strain on the delicate relations between Crusaders and Byzantines. They began marching inland through intense summer heat in 2 columns, a vanguard under Bohemond of Taranto and rear guard under Godfrey of Bouillon. Near Dorylaeum, Bohemond's vanguard was ambushed by the main Turkish army. Based on Crusader chronicles, this is our best understanding of how the confused fighting unfolded.
I'm like, I've watched a lot of Epic History TV videos at this point, and like every time I watch one and they're describing these battles that took place, it just really makes me wish that, you know, at least some form of time travel was possible, where at least you could go back and, I don't know, photograph or take video of certain events, you know. But like, I don't know, like if you could go back in time to just be the fly on the wall or something, to essentially be invisible, so you don't like change anything, you don't impact anything, but just can be an invisible observer, you know. Ah, man, there's so many points in history that, like, I wish that was a thing that was possible. You know, if full on like time travel in transporting a full human conscious human being back in time is not possible, maybe at least like getting like a I don't know, just a look, like a vision into the past, like a little, I don't know what I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like a little window into the past, you know? I don't know. Because I want to see what these, I'm sure it's horrifying and brutal and all that stuff, but just to see how exactly battles were fought during this time. Like, you know, we get like reenactments and stuff like that, and historians, and, you know, can make their best guesses off of firsthand accounts and whatnot, but I don't know, man. I want to see it. I want to see it. Like, I want all the information. I want to see it for real. Hopefully, I'm not the only one. I'm sure I'm not the only one, right? Who doesn't want to like get a glimpse into the past, right?
Seeing he was about to be attacked by a large force of enemy cavalry, sent an urgent message to the rearguard, asking for assistance. Then he formed up his knights and ordered his infantry into a defensive formation behind them, protecting the camp followers. The Crusaders came under attack from all sides, facing a hail of arrows from Turkish horse archers, as well as javelins and hit-and-run strikes from their faster light cavalry. The knights were driven back onto their own infantry. Over several hours, losses mounted, but the Crusader line held. Meanwhile, Godfrey was racing up with the rearguard to join the battle. Troops were fed into the fighting as soon as they arrived. On the Turks' left flank, the Crusader advance was hidden by the terrain, so that they appeared suddenly, threatening the Turks with encirclement. When the Christian knights all charged together, the Turks panicked, turned, and fled. It was a major victory for the Crusaders, and allowed them to continue their advance across Anatolia without serious opposition. At Heraclea, they defeated a small Turkish force, then split up. The main force struggled through the mountains of Cappadocia, losing many of their baggage animals and running dangerously low on supplies. Meanwhile, Baldwin of Boulogne and Tancred, probably out to seize land and plunder for themselves, travelled south into Cilicia, capturing the city of Tarsus and other settlements. Tancred later rejoined the main army. But Baldwin was invited by local Armenian Christians to travel to Edessa, where he was soon installed as Count Baldwin of Edessa, ruler of the First Crusader state. In October 1097, the rest of the Crusaders reached Antioch, the next stepping stone on the road to Jerusalem. But outside its walls, the First Crusade would come to the brink of disaster, decimated by disease and starvation, and encircled by their enemies. It would take a miracle to save them from annihilation. Research and artwork for this video comes from Osprey Publishing's extensive range of books on medieval history. Every Osprey book examines a particular battle, campaign, or combat unit in authoritative, meticulous detail. And with more than 3,000 titles, they cover everything from ancient warfare to modern conflict. Visit their website to see their online catalogue. Thank you to all the Patreon supporters who made this video possible. If you'd like to find out how you can support the channel, and even get to vote on future topics, please visit our Patreon page by clicking the link.
Alrighty, well there we go. That's part one of the First Crusades. And I was just looking up to try to remember how many Crusades there were. There were 8. 8 total. That is way more than what I thought. I thought there were maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 maybe, but 8? Jesus. And all in the span of like 200 years. Yeah, from like 1096 to 1291, there were 8 Crusades. Yeah. So, it looks like Epic History has only done a series on the First Crusades so far. Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll put out some more series on the other Crusades. Because we still have a part 2 for the first Crusades here in this series. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you want to keep following along. That one will come out probably shortly after this one. I don't know exactly, but keep an eye out for it. And liking, sharing, and subscribing, in particular, the subscribing part, that's really important. That's gonna be the one to make sure that you don't miss the next part. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. See ya.